What's going on today, guys? I'm your host, weberbeats for BassGorilla.com, and today I'll be showing you guys some basics on compression. This will include compressors, limiters, multiband compressors, and abletons, compressors, and limiters. Compression is a process of lowering the dynamic range of an audio signal. Dynamic range is the range from the highest to lowest sounds. This is done by boosting the quieter signals and lowering the louder signals. Compression is used for a few things, but to put it simply, it's used to control volume. You can use it to bring down peaks that are too loud or bring out sounds that are too low. There are two types of compression to determine which way it's behaving. Downward compression reduces loud sounds that are above a threshold, and upward compression boosts audio below a threshold. Alright, so what is compression used for? Why do we even care? So in public places, usually background music is highly compressed in order to keep it from peaking out too loud, or in order to keep the low sounds from being overtaken by the ambient noise. So it just keeps it one consistent signal in the background. And music production, compression is used to make performances sit more in the mix, to keep things more consistent, you know, without having to manually go in there and edit everything. Vocal performances in pop and rock music are usually compressed to improve the clarity, something worth knowing. In electronic dance music, compression is very common. You hear it all the time. You probably don't know though. It's used extensively in broadcasting to boost the sound. In marketing, television commercials are often overly compressed, basically making it as loud as possible while still being within the limits. Now we're going to talk about the overusage of compression. So over the years, record companies, mixing engineers, mastering engineers have been increasing the loudness of songs and therefore the compression of songs in order to get that loudness higher. It's resulted in something known as the loudness wars. That being said, today I'll teach you guys something awful. How to compete in the loudness wars. Over the years, songs have gotten louder and louder and more compressed. Look at this progression of a remastered copy of the Beatles song throughout the years. As you can see, by the year 2000, it's basically just a sausage. How do we control these things? Alright, so the threshold, that's the loudness at which the compression is applied. Anything that crosses this threshold, if it's downward compression, or below it if it's upward compression, will be compressed or expanded. Ratio is the amount of compression being applied. Attack is the amount of time for a compressor kicks in. Release is the amount of time for the compressor effect fades out. The knee changes the behavior of the threshold once it's crossed. Hard knee is a quick change and soft knee is a slow change. Makeup gain is a setting that you can turn on in order to automatically boost the gain to compensate for the gain you lost from compression. It's a good feature. You want to use this usually, especially if you don't really know what you're doing yet and you're still learning compression. Makeup gain is a good option. We have the output. That's the manual gain you can do after the compression. There are two different settings you can set up within compression. It'll change the way the compressor behaves. So peak settings respond purely to the peak level of the signal. The second anything crosses the threshold, it'll respond immediately with the compression. RMS produces a more relaxed version of compression that is more closer to the human's perception of loudness. A limiter is a downward compressor with a ratio of 10 to 1 or higher. Obviously meant to have a stronger effect than a compressor. It limits the level to a certain threshold, thus the name, limiter. A compressor will smoothly reduce the gain, while a limiter will prevent any gain from passing the threshold at all. Now we're going to talk about limiter controls. They're basically kind of similar to a compressor. The only two things that are different are the look ahead and the ceiling. Compressors react when they see a transient coming. The look ahead is meant to give the compressor more time to see these transients and therefore not let any of the initial transients pass through. And the ceiling is the level at which to not exceed. Multiband compressors and compressors split into compressing different frequencies called bands. You can adjust the compression to behave any way you want for each band individually. And that's the beauty of multiband compression. I wouldn't recommend the beginner to pick up multiband compression though, just because it's a fairly dangerous tool. You can destroy the tone of whatever sound you're working on pretty quickly with it. Alright, so real quick, I'm going to be showing you guys all the different compressors we have in Ableton. These are all of them. The compressor, the glue compressor, the multiband dynamics, aka the multiband compressor, and the limiter.